Anyway, enough of all that nonsense. So we need to continue on our journey with the Vicinity Cluster. Because, after all, we are living in Vicinity Cluster. A funny thing happened. A friend that I cared for very much fell over, broke his nose. No one was around to help him. And I'm now 26 miles away, so I certainly couldn't help him. And yeah, so he's damaged like his nose, his teeth, his. And he's a really tall guy as well. Really kind, helps anyone he can help. And then when he called up his local doctor, which used to be my local doctor, they said, oh no. And it's literally walking distance from his house. Oh no, oh no, you can't come and see us. You have to drive 16 miles across to St. Andrews when you've got like head injuries. And I mean, you can't make any of this up. It's just beyond reality. And so I tend to agree with a lot of the wonderful people out there that tell their stories, because we all have perspective ultimately. Perspective is a wonderful thing, and what it gives you is where you actually are. So where are you? Where am I? I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, even though I might not like it very much. And this is a funny thing, because it's not very happy, but it's interesting certainly. And I think this is important, that we realize um, what we can create from all the strangeness that's happening, because it is strange. I promise you, it is strange. I remember a time when nobody cared where you went. They weren't always looking about, ooh, why are you standing over there? You know, why are you at this shop? What are you buying? Now, it seems to all be about, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? So, I might like to add that, quite frankly, as long as you're honourable, you've got morality and ethics, I don't care what you're doing, because I know that if you are moral and you're ethical and you stand by true values, I can meet you down the road. I know you're never going to harm me or my neighbour. Looking after yourself depends on what you see in your heart. And this is all about our spirit ultimately. Our spirit is one of the most powerful things, and they don't like us to know that. So, and I think that Vicinity Cluster kind of portrays that quite well. Sorry to be tardy. I do have a lot of things going on in my life, and I always appreciate when anyone cares to listen. Because The story of our life needs to be told. This is such an important thing. When you realize your footsteps backwards and forwards, when you realize that you are part of a much greater aspect of first consciousness than the reality. The mind is part of um, I like to call it the silver thread. The silver thread is what connects us all. It is what our spirit does with itself. It is fascinating, and Steiner talks about this, and I will always continue to speak about this. And, I wanted to let you know, there's a funny thing happened today. I went into my community centre. I took some flowers in there because a lot of people take stuff, They give a lot of stuff. They're really, really kind people here. So I took some flowers in and I met the lady that sits on reception. And I was talking to her about a gentleman that lives in one of the apartments here. He really needs help. He's kind of angry and all that stuff. And it turns out, and he used to grift off me as well. I think I spoke about that before. But it turns out he wants to actually volunteer to do some work in the community centre. So that's really good. So I'm really pleased about that. I've been offered to come and manage the garden there. So to teach children and even adults if they want to grow things. So there's a wonderful thing happening here. I've actually got a little lump in my throat because that is such a wonderful thing. I've only been here like just under 3 months, but it is a really, really, if you ever come to Scotland, please come and visit and travel across from the Forth to the Tay, from anywhere along the East Neuk over to um, it's the Cooper region of Fife. So it's a landmass that stretches approximately 26 miles, roughly. Okay, so it depends the angle. I'm kind of going more west from Pittenweem, which is in the East Neuk. Really, I mean, they're all beautiful places. I mean, stunning. But so I want to go back to the spirit and traveling with our spirit. And this is what Vicinity Cluster is about. And the reason that I'm reading from this book, all right, had a profound effect on me because it showed me that what I had seen in my life, and I mean, I'd seen some stuff before I read these books, right? I'd experienced uh, prostitution, rape, parents fighting, and family upsets and all that kind of stuff. But however, I'm still here, and I think the reason I'm still here, and suicide as well, by the way. So this is not depressing. This is about regeneration and realizing that even when you think you're in that darkest moment, but there's this amazing light. Okay, I'm not religious, by the way, in no shape nor form. And the Christ is our spine, by the way. So we are realizing what our spirit truly is. I feel this strongly with a very small pocket of people. And I think we must start small because we've been lost for a very long time. But what we can't avoid is our spirit. And our spirit is not just within us, it is all around us. This silver thread that I speak of is what connects everything. I mean, everything. Every sentient, it doesn't matter if it's a stone on the ground, or if it's a cloud in the sky, or a raindrop, or a snowflake. I mean, I drove back. I'm just going to tell you this because I didn't think I was going to get home the other night. Driving back from the 4th, I was delivering Chinese food, and I only did 8 deliveries. But the people that I do that for, I've known them for like 30 years. And they're Chinese, by the way. So I literally don't care where anyone comes from, but I do care very much about the color of your heart, your spirit. So if you're true with yourself, you'll be true with others. So there's an honor thing there. And when I drove there, oh dear God. So there was a stretch because the land goes really, really high. And when it snows in Scotland, it snows. And the higher you go, the more treacherous the roads become. So imagine, I'm in a 23-year-old car, right? I love my car. She's great. But I rolled there in that section. So I'm a courier. I courier myself. Being a courier doesn't mean you carry parcels. It means you carry knowledge. You carry experience. You give to others what sometimes they're not ready to do yet. It doesn't mean you're better than them. It just means you've had that experience. They haven't had it yet. That's all it means. I do not look down upon anyone, not the tiniest, not even a flea, or the midges, the mosquitoes that have bitten me in my life. God, they've bitten me. Respect. There are reasons why all these creatures exist together. That is called nature's balance. That is called, if you want to call it that, God, right? I call it great consciousness because consciousness comes before everything else. Then the electricity happens. That we must try at least to be a little more accepting. Because I think that these little creatures that come to bite us are there to teach us how to keep our homes clean. The ticks and the little dust mites and the fleas and all they've got a purpose. And then you have the other creatures that come and clean up after all the mess. So you've got the wasps, the bees, the actually they all kind of clean up. The worms and the birds, and it goes beyond. And then I want to go back to mycelium. Mycelium is our closest relative, physically speaking. So when you grow anything and you look at the root system of any of these plants, you have this, it literally looks like when you look at the, in the brain, when you look at all the connections in the brain, mycelium is exactly the same. And what it does, it connects, this is consciousness. It connects all the root systems of every plant that grows in all of our soil, irrelevant of what country you are. There will be differences throughout. Some plants need more sandy, salinic soil. Others need more mossy. This is what I'm going to be teaching in my community centre. I hope so. This is such a wonderful thing that happened today. So I wanted to share that with you. That's not fiction, by the way. That is actually going on right now. And so I'd given up on my life. And here I am. And I might be doing a gardening course. This is what great consciousness does. It hands you beautiful challenges that there are no words for. You know, and you meet the most amazing people. I'm sorry, I'm getting all teary again, because these things are undescribable. You know, when you step forward, when you decided that you're no longer relevant, and then you come back and you're just shoved back into life, and you go, okay, well, here I am. I have to do this now. We can all do this, but we do need to pull together. We have to pull together. We need to educate our children away from the system, unless it's, well, from a Steiner perspective, because that is only to do with nature, our spirit. And he does talk about that a lot, you know, and these words are going to echo throughout eternity. I mean, I guarantee. Sorry to steal from Gladiator, but it will echo throughout eternity, because that makes the most sense. You know, what I learned from Steiner was that we are nature, and when we realize our connection and our creativity, or what we can do with our, you know, our essence, our minds, and then our thoughts and hands, and we transfer that, we do that connection with nature. You look at the beauty of nature, I mean, it's perfect. I had an argument for many decades with my ex. I'm not going to mention his name, obviously. And my argument was that nature is perfect. And he said, well, no, nature isn't perfect because it does this and it does that. And he used to drag me around on this course of argument. And I said, but it is, because it's balanced. Nature is that original great consciousness. And what it does is it knows exactly where everything should be and how it interacts. You know, I mean, I'm going to talk about this book again. And I can't actually get to my version of it because it's in my garage at the back of the garage with loads of stuff. It's botany in a day in the Northern Hemisphere. Now, I've got 2 copies. One cost me £20, the other one cost me 60. British pounds, by the way, so they weren't cheap. However, you can buy digital copies of this, but I would advise that you do not. This is a softback, large book with huge amounts of description in it. I don't think it goes into fungi, because I also study fungi, so mycelium. So I know there are telltales once you know your plants, you will know the telltale signs of what is toxic and is only usable topically and not ingestible. And then you will learn what you can cook, eat, ferment, whatever it is. I mean, from the basics. I mean, we're starting with the dandelion because that is one of the most healing plants. I'm sorry, I never read anything from Vicinity Cluster, but Vicinity Cluster is actually about this, what I'm talking about. So, can I just have a pull off my spliff? Thank you very much. Right, just one moment, please. Now, the reason why I like Vicinity Cluster so much is because of the author. And I didn't actually know I'd like the author. He also wrote, and I'm sure you already know this, Ox, Omnivore, and Ore, which is of Man and Manta. Great trilogy, by the way. Absolutely fascinating. And we're talking other worlds, okay? And I don't care about what shape our world is or any world is, to be frank. Our worlds are malleable. I truly believe they're malleable. And I feel that it is, again, it's to do with our consciousness and how we would like to see things. And sometimes we see things that may or may not be there, but in a lot of cases they are actually there. And I found this. I mean, I've been saved by a light when I was 14 in it's one of the London woods. I can't think what it's called now, but I literally would have fallen to my death. And this light, and I wasn't the only experiencer of this. So there were others standing next to me. We were very silly little children. We were doing silly things. But I would have fallen, and I would have certainly become a cripple, if not dead. And there was this amazing light came across and literally held me back so I didn't fall. And there were about 4 other people that saw this. And there was one on my left, and there were 3 on my other side. I distinctly remember this. And it was like one of those moments. I was like, oh my God. Literally, oh my God. And not much longer after that, I was prostituted. And I think it's important because I know, I always speak out about um, child manipulation. I think it's really important that we realize that children also comprehend when adults are manipulating one another. Okay. And I've experienced this with my half sister. She was very clever. However, when you are prostituted as a 14-year-old, it shows you a different perspective on life and also trust in adults and in the system. Because what I saw when I was in London, the police knew. I mean, they absolutely knew that we were like underage girls, right? And we'd meet them and we'd chat with them in the takeaway shops and in the clinic. Now, trust me, because when you're being used, you have to go to the clinic because people abuse you. Okay? It's basically child abuse. Okay? And it's prevalent in Britain. Never mind any other country. Trust me. And so I will continue to always speak out about this and to hopefully educate that if you want your children to be safe, then you must educate them yourself. And that goes through all the levels of the family, whether you're a grandparent or a parent or an aunt or an uncle or a sister, brother, irrelevant. Yeah, mother, father. That's what community is all about, is to observe, because when you observe, then you can see where the corruption is. It isn't complicated. And I'm not particularly wise. These are just my observances through the years. I mean, when I was in Paris, my mum lost me in Paris. When I was in Paris, I saw a film called Christiana F. Now, I never let any needles go in my body. I never sniffed any powders. Not before the film, not before watching the film, and nor after. But it is really, I mean, it's a German film, and there's David Bowie is very prevalent in it. It's an 80s film, right? But she also discovers that her boyfriend is sleeping with her father. Now, and I'm not sure it's her real father or her stepfather. I can't remember. It's a very dark story, but it is a very educational story. Now, to see that as a 14-year-old, when you have been, I wasn't abused. Uh, There were a couple of people that abused me. Well, tried, certainly, but didn't actually succeed. But funny thing is, most of the people that I met in Paris when I was 14, they were Iranian and they were the kindest people. Now, wait, I'm not saying that they were the nicest people because they were very kind to me. They treated me like a princess. However, they were dealing in arms, gems, precious metals, possibly drugs, and various other things. But whenever they, whenever I was in their vicinity, they treated me literally like with kid gloves. Now, what I don't comprehend, well, no, I am comprehending it now, but what I didn't comprehend for quite a few years was why are the Iranians, the Iraqis, the Palestinians, now, as I said before, I don't care what colour your skin is. I've got a German mother, a very white mother, I might add, and then I have a father who is Huguenot Sri Lankan. So you can't make any of this up. And I was born in Muswell Hill in London, North London. When you look at it on a deeper level, so look beyond the skin, there needs to be freedom before you can find any kind of truth. I know I've gone a bit lopsided here, but you know, it is late here, obviously. I'm in Scotland on the Tay. Anyway, I think it's time for a little bit of Vicinity Cluster. I'm going to try and do like, yeah, I think I might do the chapter. Okie dokie. Here we go. So we're talking about the spirit here in this book. And this is Piers Anthony, Vicinity Cluster Series, Volume 1. And we are on page 11. Transfer operates at 1,000 times the distance, at 1,000th the cost in energy, Pnottel continued. This is because so much less actually has to be transmitted. Only the Curlian ambience moves. The body is left behind. It is my Curlian force alone that animates this body, and it will quickly fade if I do not return to my own body, which is quite alien in comparison. Thus, transfer is by no means a substitute for matter transmission, or even for physical travel through space. It is merely our most economical means of communication over galactic distances. And though it is a million times as efficient as matter transmission, it can still be costly in energy. The Minister of Technology nodded gravely as usual. That was the great liability of matter transmission. Its cost $1 million worth of energy to be expanded to transmit 100 pounds, 1 light year, approximately. In fact, that had become the practical definition of the modern dollar. Go figure. Ain't that funny? Now, this was written in. Wait a minute, I'll tell you when it was written. Because these things are pertinent that we should really look at. I find them kind of funny. 1977, no less. I might have told you that before. Oh, and then it was republished 78 and 79. And then 1985, just after 1984. So, the expense cubed as the distance squared, so that it cost $1 billion to transmit that same mass 10 light years and $1 trillion to move it 100 light years. Consequently, very little freight was shipped that way. Most matter transmission consisted of microscopic coded message capsules. Sound familiar? It was still an essential means of maintaining imperial communications. Transfer at a millionth the effective cost would still have to be used sparingly if it were not to deplete the imperial exchequer. But it would lay open the entire galaxy to human contact, and the benefits could be enormous. For if there was one thing more valuable than energy, it was knowledge. The threat is linked to this, Knotul said. The civilization of another galaxy proposes to solve its own energy problems by draining off the fundamental energies of the Milky Way galaxy. I speak of the atomic interactions themselves and the force of gravity. I think you will appreciate what would happen to us if all these forces were weakened. Disaster, the Minister of Technology said immediately. A whole framework would disintegrate. But how, the regent inquired. Always practical. Apparently, they have rediscovered some of the science of the ancients, Knotul said. Isn't that interesting again? They are using the bodies of local galactic species to build and operate enormous power transfer stations. Interesting. Transfer of energy? The Minister of Technology asked, amazed. I don't know that was possible. I didn't know that was possible. We did not know either, Knotel admitted. It seems there are ramifications of transfer technique we have yet to master. It may be that some forms of energy possesses Curlian fields. As I pointed out, the threat is fundamentally connected to transfer. We must make a special search for more ancient artifacts. The Minister of Technology exclaimed, now, more interesting stuff. In short, Knotel concluded, we are about to be ravaged by Galaxy Andromeda. If we do not act immediately, we shall perish. I disagree, but then that's just me. Exactly. What sort of assistance do we expect from what sort of assistance do you expect from us? The regent inquired, shaken despite his cynicism. Proto says, merely to use your power of transfer to contact your neighbors and bring them into the coalition. You will freely relay the transfer technology to them. They will then patrol their own regions, destroying any Andromedan stations and agents discovered. There's always war in it. They always want war. Anyway, those were my thoughts. I read this when I would have been in my no, early 20s. Actually, I read this. So, ooh, I'd have been about 22. So it was like 35 years ago. Wow. I've read some books, trust me. Uh, Not all sci-fi, but a lot of it is sci-fi. So, merely to use your power of transfer to contact your neighbours and bring them into the coalition, you will freely relay the transfer technology to them. They will then patrol their own regions, destroying any Andromedan stations and agents discovered. Ooh, look out. Galactic vigilance, yeah, maybe vigilance. Galactic vigilance. Oh, I give up. Is the price we all must pay for survival. I don't agree. But it is funny though. We have to do the dirty work you bark at. The regent said, that is your real price. Penottle nodded. Unkindly put, but accurate enough. We must concentrate our own major effort in our own region of space. So there, we're talking about our village again, aren't we, really? You know, they're even talking about, all right, irrelevant if it's galactic terms, it's your village, you know? If you can reach 10 or 20 spheres within a radius of 2,000 light years of Sol, it will suffice. Our own suite will complement your tangi- tangentially. Tangentially? I don't know that word. Sorry, don't know what that means. Yours tangentially for sphere knif. I mean, there are some really weird names in this. For sphere knif is covering a radius of 3,000 light years. I mean, we're talking like big distances here. All over the galaxy, the other major spheres are performing similarly. The alien made a bow of dismissal. If you will convey me to your technicians, I shall begin working with them immediately. It may take some time to clarify the specifics and constructs, the apparatus, and my time is limited. The alien smiled, and several ministers smiled with him. He was speaking the literal truth. He had at most 80 days before his identity became submerged within the ambience of the human host. So, in this story, you are traveling just your spirit. You leave your body behind. You go to another world and you arrive in another body. And that body either is allowing you to be, to dwell there, or they are themselves traveling elsewhere. Sorry to sound a bit, you know what I mean. Anyway, so the whole story is about you don't, you are, we don't need any of this, but that's what the funny thing is. We don't actually need to do this because our spirits are traveling constantly, you know? I mean, what do you think sleep's about? And dreaming and, you know, I mean, I dream the same dreams over and over again. Not necessarily identical, but the same places and their variations on those dreams and where I am in that place. So I know I can navigate in my dream where I'm going because I've been there before. So I'm not so lost in those cities because I go, oh, I've been along this road before. I've been in this market. I mean, I do loads of shopping in my dreams. It's hilarious because I wake up and go, shit, where's my shopping gone? I want my shopping that I just bought. Oh, come on. You got to see the funny side of it. Dreaming is great. Even when it's scary, it's still great. I mean, our mind, our consciousness, wow. I mean, I've literally come here for the last time to this world because I know I've been here so many times and I was shy before to speak out about what I know. I'm not so shy now. And there's so much funniness in it, though. I mean, like hilarity as well as just weird. We're not our body, right? Our body is part of the world that we go to or that we come to, whichever way you want to look at it. The portals are our parents, right? It's that simple. It's really not complicated. And we kind of do choose them. I definitely chose my parents. I mean, they were so talented. The art that my mum made and the carpentry that my dad could do as well. I mean, he built my first bed when I was a little girl. I was like solid wood. You know, you couldn't break that thing. It was just gorgeous. I used to fall out of it because it was quite high. I remember I fell out of it and I dumped on the floor. And he came in. I was like, yeah. He went, you did that on purpose. I went, no, I didn't. But anyway, those are the funny things in life that you got to look. And I know I had a black cot as a baby. Now that was scary. A black cot with, and it was chipboard painted with gold paint. It was kind of pretty, but I wouldn't have put a child in it because I remember being very upset in that as a very small baby. Yeah, not funny. Don't ever make your baby a black cot. That is not a good thing to do. But we need to look at the humorous side of these things. Anyway, where was I? We are talking about the Milky Way galaxy. So, Pnotul. I speak of the atomic interactions themselves and the force of gravity. I think you will appreciate what would happen to us all if these forces were weakened. Disaster, the Minister of Technology said immediately. A whole framework would disintegrate. But how? The regent inquired. Always practical. Apparently, they have rediscovered some of the science of the ancients, Pnotul said. They are using the bodies of local galactic species to build and operate enormous power transfer stations. Transfer of energy, the Minister of Technology asked, amazed. I didn't know that was possible. We did not know either, Pnotul admitted. It seems there are ramifications of transfer technique we have yet to master. It may be that some forms of energy possess Kirlian fields. As I pointed out, the threat is fundamentally connected to transfer. We must make a special search for some ancient artifacts. The Minister of Technology exclaimed. Well, you know how slow they are on this stuff. In short, Knotel concluded, we are about to be ravaged by Galaxy Andromeda. If we do not act immediately, shall all perish. Exactly what sort of assistance do you expect from us? The regent inquired, shaken despite his cynicism. Merely to use your power of transfer to contact your neighbours and bring them into the coalition. You will freely relay the transfer technology to them. They will then patrol their own regions, destroying any Andromedan stations and agents discovered. which is kind of dark. It, it's it's like pre-Star Wars, I think. That kind of mingles into Star Wars, but not because they're not really using craft. They're using etheric craft to transfer spirits from one world to another, from one body to another. But then those spirits have to come back to their original body, and the host body. It's really complicated. Anyway, I think that so. Sorry, I lost my space. We have to do the dirty work, you bark at, the regent said. That is your real price. Yeah, Pnottle nodded. Unkindly put, but accurate enough. We must concentrate on our own major effort in our own region of space. If you can reach 10 or 20 spheres within a radius of 2,000 light years of Sol, it will suffice. Our own sweep will complement yours uh, tangentially. There it is again. For sphere Knief. Knief. Knief is covering. Sorry, it's a funny word. Is covering a radius of 3,000 light years. All over the galaxy, the other major spheres are performing similarly. The alien made a bow of dismissal. If you will convey me to your technicians, I shall begin working with them immediately. It may take some time to clarify the specifics, or even the specifics, and construct the apparatus, and my time is limited. The alien smiled, and several ministers smiled. He was speaking the literal truth. He had at most 80 days. It would have to be terrific. It would have to be a terrific effort on his part. But we haven't even agreed, the regent protested. Penodal's glance hinted that he thought the council to be a bunch of unlettered idiots, but his tone was controlled. Since your survival, like ours, depends on the early unification of our galaxy, so that we may muster our entire resources to combat this menace, I believe your agreement is assured, but I shall give you the information regardless, just as you will have to give it to other spheres, however negative they may prove to be. The regent gestured, and the Minister of Technology conducted the alien out of the audience chamber. As you do. We seem to have been committed, the regent remarked sourly. But if he really delivers transfer, the Minister of Population Production, the Minister of Population produced a printout. I mean, listen, Minister of Population, this guy was really on top of it long time ago. Produced a printout. Anyway, assuming that he was, sorry, that we have a use for it, I have here the list of our top prospects for transfer. As you know, the strength of the Curlian field is the overriding factor. Yeah, we know, Regent interrupted. Summon the top 5 prospects. I want them here within 24 hours. Well, that'll be awkward. Our leading name is on the fringe. The Regent bashed one fist in the opposite hand. I don't care if it's as far as Outworld. Fetch it here. The minister permitted himself a fleeting smile. It is on Outworld. Star Etamin, 108 light years distant. Our farthest visible colony. Oh, the Stone Age planet, the Minister of Culture exclaimed. Disaster. We'll have to use the second choice, that's all, the Minister of Alien Spheres said. Where's that one? Serious? Are you serious? Again, a small smile. Well, that's close. Uncivilized. Save us 99 light years. Postage. Much better. The Minister of Population shook his head. It's a woman. There was a general discreet groan. The cultural prejudices of the ministers were emerging in the absence of the alien envoy. Worse yet, the Minister of Culture said, Stop this bickering, Regent cried. Bring them both and the next three. I'll decide when the time comes. But the expense, the Minister of Finance cried. Appalled, the others ignored him. Expense was irrelevant when the regent gave an order. If he overreached himself, he would have to answer to the emperor. Whereupon there just might be a new regent. There's always a new regent, and then this particular regent was unusually competent, and therefore it was likely that his tenure in the office would be brief. What's the top name? The Minister of Alien Spheres asked. The arrival of the envoy from Sphere Kneath. 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 Can't pronounce that. Had enhanced his prestige of the hour considerably, and he spoke with a new timbre of authority. Flint, Flint of Outworld, age 2/3. What? The Minister of Culture squawked. Sorry, their year is 30 years long. I forgot to interpolate. Interpolate. Age about 21. Male, single, heterosexually inclined, intelligence about 1.5. That doesn't sound good, does it? About? The Minister of Culture demanded. Can't you measure it accurately? His tone reeked of contempt. No, he's a primitive, like some here. Can't even read. Runs about naked. Has green skin. But he's smart, very smart. Lovely, the Minister of Culture said sarcastically. A smart, naked ignoramus. The Minister of Population shook his head. This savage has a Curlian intensity of just about over 200, the highest we have ever measured. 200? The Minister of Culture gasped. 200 times human normal? That's right, the Minister of Population said smugly. The next prospect, apart from the liability of being female, is only 98 on the Curlian scale. The barbarian is something special. We stuck. We're stuck with the jolly green giant, the Minister of Culture muttered. Disaster, the Minister of Population agreed. Disaster. On the contrary, the regent said briskly, the alien envoy had evidently viewed these men with a certain condescension. The alien had been a sharp judge of character. Ideal. This innocent will hardly realize what he is getting into. What better choice for our first experimental transfer of a human being to an alien sphere? We can have no notion of the risks this entails. If the advanced entities of the inner galaxy won't even try the spheres of our region. The ministers exchanged glances. A smile passed amongst them. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where I'm going to finish the chapter because I don't want to lose my spot again. And I love reading these books and I haven't read them for years. So thank you for your patience and all that Happy New Year stuff and great days ahead and boom, boom, boom. Love you.